me to welcome this beautiful Shabbat morning, Matovu, this blessing that Balaam says as he stands over the people of Israel, ready to curse them, and instead out of his mouth comes this blessing. How beautiful are your tents, O Jacob, seeing all of the families gathered together in that valley, kids running through the tents. This is what moved him to bless the children of Israel. 172. We rise together on page 195 in our official call to worship. this amazing creation of day. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or borei choshech, oseh shalom borei et hakol. Hameir la'aretz v'ladarim alecha berachamim, uvtuvo mechadesh bechol yom tamid, ma'aseh bereshit. Ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai, kulam b'chochma asita, mala'ah ha'aretz kinyanecha. Tifarach Adonai Eloheinu, al shevach ma'aseh yadecha. Ve'al me'orei or she'asita yifa'arucha sela. Or chadash al tzion ta'ir, v'nizkeh chulanu me'era le'oro. Baruch atah Adonai, yotzer ha'me'orot. And on the following page, the top of 196, the world is sunlight restoring the soul, rejoicing the heart, bringing light to the eyes. More welcomed than gold, a Torah from heaven. I have no light to give the morning. My Torah, my special human gift, is words. As I bring my words forth from silence, welcome them, you who redeems the sun from darkness. We move from blessing God's incredible creation to recognizing the deep love that God gives to us through mitzvot. Ahava Rabbah, page 198. It's a little new, it's call and response. Learn along with me. Ahava Rabbah. Ahava Rabbah, now you. There you go. Ahava Rabbah, your turn. Ahavtanu. Ahava Rabbah. Ahava Rabbah. Ahava Rabbah. Ahavtanu. 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 Adonai Eloheinu. How deeply you have loved us. How deeply you have loved us. How deeply you have loved us. Adonai Eloheinu. That repeats. How deeply you have loved us. How deeply you have loved us. How deeply you have loved us. Adonai Eloheinu. Ahava Rabbah. Ahava Rabbah. Ahava Rabbah. Ahavtanu. 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 Adonai Eloheinu. We remain standing for the calling of the Shema as we enter into that sense of all-encompassing embrace, that oneness that is Adonai. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu. parted shores of the sea. They moved across, and as they looked behind, they saw the sea crash over Pharaoh's men. And they realized that they had a new start and a new journey before them. And so they sang this song of joy, the song of freedom. Mi chamocha. Mi chamocha, Elohim Adonai, page 204. Mi chamocha, nedar b'kodesh. That repeats. Mi chamocha, Elohim Adonai. Mi chamocha, nedar b'kodesh. Together for our tefillah, page 205. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu. Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim ve'Konei Hakol, Bezocher Chasdei Avot v'Imavot, Umevi Geula livnei bneihem. Ma'an Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh ha'kol atah Rav le'Hoshia, Morid hatah, Michalkel Chaim b'chesed, Mechayeh ha'kol ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בגבורות, ומינו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. Page 208. We sing together Kiddush. Nekadesh et Shemcha ba'olam, together on page 211. We are commanded on this day, on Shabbat, we are supposed to not only feel our ordinary joy and happiness. Shabbat, these 25 hours, are really a time where we are supposed to feel the happiest we have felt all week. Let's join together, Yismichu. Liturgical service that we observe over the Jewish calendar. So we turn now to page 216 and 217. And we'll hear these words in a moment. They're really a bridge between Sim Shalom, our prayer that calls us to actively bring peace into the world, to Elohai Nitzur. And Elohai Nitzur takes that concept of actively placing peace into the world by reminding us to be cognizant of the words that we speak, that we should always speak with words of Torah, words of truth from our heart. So we'll join together first in the English on the bottom of page 216, and we'll go from there to page 217. Oh God, may we never become complacent, faltering in our effort to build a world of peace. Let the nations know and understand that justice and right are better than dominion and conquest. May all come to see that it is not by might nor by power, but by your Spirit that life prevails. Praised are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamivarech et amo Yisrael. Elohai Nitzur l'shanim hara, was we prepare for our Torah service, we come to the moment where we think of all of those who are in need of healing, in need of the refuah shlema, that complete healing of body, and even more than body, of mind, of soul, of spirit. And so as we pray these words, Mishaberach, together, page 253, I invite you to hold all of those names in your heart, those in your life who you want to send this blessing of healing to, and it can even be yourself. Rise, we join together on page 244 as we prepare for Seder Kriyat HaTorah, the reading of our Torah. Today we will hear the opening words of our week's Parsha Ki Tetzei. Deuteronomy chapter 21, verses 10 through 14. And I invite everybody to participate with me as we make the blessing over reading Torah, which is found on page 250. Baruch hu et Adonai Hamborah. Baruch Adonai Habarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah. Ki tetzei lamilchama al oyevecha, unetano Adonai Elohecha, be'adecha v'shavita shivyo, v'ra'ita b'shivya eshet yifat to'ar, v'chashavta vach, v'lakachta lecha le'isha. V'havita el toch betecha, v'gilcha et rosha, v'asita et tzipornecha, v'hesira et simlat shivya. Me'alecha v'yasheva b'beitecha, uvachta et aviha v'et imach yerach yamim. Ve'achar ken tavo elecha uve'alta, ve'hayata lecha le'isha, ve'haya imo chafatzta bach, ve'shilachta le'nafsha, u'makor lo timkerena b'kasef, lo titamer bach, tachat asher inita. Please join with me in our blessing following our Torah reading. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah. So I went into detail last night about some of the more interesting, unique laws presented to us in Kitetse. And this whole parsha of our Torah, I think any lawyer would find fascinating. The part that we just heard is all about the proper procedure for managing or caring for a female war captive. A little bit later in the Torah, I want to elevate what comes a little bit later in the Torah portion. There's a whole section on separation and what things can be mixed and not mixed. So we hear in the Torah portion, Lo tizrach karmecha ki le'ayin. You shall not sow your vineyard together with a mixed variety of species, lest the species increase. Hamale'ah means to get full. Even the seed that you sow and the yield of the vineyard, they both become forbidden. So what does all this mean, and what is this idea of becoming forbidden? So there are two prohibitions in this statement. We've already heard this idea, kile ayin, the prohibition of a mixed variety of species. We hear this actually in our holiness code way back in Leviticus chapter 19. Rashi says this, you don't want to sow together, throw in wheat and barley and grape seeds. That's a prohibition because they're diverse, as it explains in the Talmud. Lest they become forbidden. So I found this to be really interesting. That this is it goes even further. Don't do this because this is going to be forbidden, which means unclean, not kosher. It's really like almost repulsive and not holy. The other thing that we have to realize, so what does this really mean? It makes sense if you think about it in an agricultural point of view, because if you were to just throw in all manner of seeds together, what would happen? One might take over the other. Maybe you get some strange combination of crops that's, either going to survive or not. Or what I think also is happening here is Torah is reminding us that to preserve the highest amount of potential in nutrients. So if you're going to plant something, make sure you are think about the nutrients in the soil and what that one thing needs, and grow that really amazing crop. The Torah takes us even further, this idea of keeping things separate. In the very next verse, we hear, "You shall not plow with an ox and a donkey together." And this also goes. This also applies to any two species in the world. Why? This is where my thoughts come in. Why? Well, if you think about an ox and a donkey, and you make them work together, well, the donkey may not be able to live up to the strength of the ox, right? But the ox, so the donkey may be overtaken by the ox. Well, maybe the donkey can move faster than the ox, so therefore the donkey would move ahead of the ox, so they're not balanced. So what Torah is teaching us here is to make sure that in our work, in our partnerships, to strive for a sense of balance, and not, create opposing differences in a purposeful way, because it lowers the good or the potential that could come out of the partnership. So finally, we hear what is still a very much observed law in Torah. You shall not wear a mixture of wool and linen together. So this is not like a linen top and a pair of wool pants. This is where the linen and the wool actually make up one garment. And here, I think it's pretty clear what they're saying, in my view, is, linen and wool serve two different purposes. Who would want to wear wool in the middle of summer and linen in the middle of winter? Now, this is my interpretation. I encourage you to go and look up in the Talmud and what other rabbis say, but in this case, I think we are coming to a law that is similar to some of the other laws we find in this parsha, where it's restating an idea of common sense. How are we, functioning in society, and how are our actions serving our highest potential or our highest purpose? So I think that what we learn here is that at certain points, it's not so great to juxtapose opposing forces or partnerships, whether they be inanimate or alive. all of our partnerships, how we function in society, should be driven toward the highest good, the highest potential that we can reach. And I think that as we are approaching our new year, this is where our focus is, that we come across this Torah portion at such an opportune moment in our Jewish calendar, where we can take some time and think about how we would like to achieve our highest potential in the year to come. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may this be God's will, and we will rise as we return the Torah to the ark. V'zot Torah asher sham Moshe livnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai be'ad Moshe. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Let's sing that one more time. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. La 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 la. Ya la 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 la. La 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 la. Page 256. It's Chaim hi lamachazikim ba v'tomecha me'ushar derachecha tarchenu am v'chol tzivotecha shalom hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva Chadesh Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu kekedem. We continue with our concluding prayers at the top of page 283. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא שם חלקנו לייחד את שמו, וגור עלינו להמליך מלכותו. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד. Please be seated. There are stars up above so far away. We only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. And as we live our days, these are the ways we remember. This week, our congregation remembers Joshua Fink, Raymond Allen Sr., Dr. Stanley Frager, Frederick Betts, Jan Brinch, Rosalind Goldstein, Marilyn Davis Katz, Fanny White, Max Benjamin, Etta Hirsch, Beatrice Minstein, Michael Oppenheimer, Kenneth Vine, William E. Weber, Julian White, Samuel Glaubinger, Beverly Marin Bloom, Sylvia Schutz, Louis Ira Sweet, Judith Schweitzer, Jack Abrams, Teresa Diamond, Robin Friends Isaacs, J. William Friends, Elliot Cronish, Richard Levy, Raisa Alexandrovich, Brooke Cohen, Rhoda Daniels, Maxine D. Lapidus, Sam LaSalle, Tracy LaSalle, Neil Buddy Schwartz, Esther Waterman, Michael Robert Heffernan, Lendl Massey, Dorothy Oppenheim, Frida Sabis, Ronald Snyder, Morris Abraham, Doris Chasen, Loretta Curtis, Emma Mann, and of course, we remember the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, 96 years young, who reigned for over 70 years. And so we rise on page 294, joining together in Kaddish Yatom in these ancient words of our mourners' Kaddish. Yit gadal v'yit kadash merabah, ve'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, v'chayechon v'yomechon, v'chaye decho beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kari v'yimru amen. Yehe shemei rabah mevarach leolam ula'omeh al mayam. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shemed kutsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran me'alma v'yimru amen. Yehe shalama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. V'seh shalom v'yimrumav hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. We join together in the words Oseh Shalom at the bottom of page 294. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Invite everybody to say Shabbat Shalom to someone new. And please do not forget tonight at Louisville Gymnastics Family Fun Night, and a week from tonight we will join together to officially bring in the new year with Selichot, the beginning of our days of awe, and I hope to see you all there. Shabbat Shalom.